I had to accept that maybe I didn't know best, right? And I had to accept that like it was gonna be okay, whatever the outcome was. My kids don't need to get a phone call like they did about their mother about me or something like that, or you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, I guess at that point decided to stop being like so selfish. Decided to
It sounds like life before was unmanageable, was all over. You were still a high capacity individual, but I'm hearing there's this underlying tone of a lot of fear, a lot of pain.
Mhm,
And then fast forward, well, I guess not fast forward, slow forward, who we have
mhm.
to it's been about a year or so. What's life like now for you?
Welcome to the Recovery Roundtable podcast, where the journey to sobriety opens up through powerful discussions and shared experiences. Join your host, Mark, who will bring you stories of triumph and resilience from the heart of Pacific Shores recovery. Every episode offers insights and support, guiding you through the challenges of addiction recovery. Thank you for joining our community. If you're ready to start or continue your recovery journey, we're here to inspire and support you. Let's explore recovery together.
If you would just go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, and kind of what led you to here.
Donny Marshall. I'm from Stuart, Florida, and man, I don't know. Addiction took me out here to Pack Shores. I originally came out here. What it was October? It's my brother's birthday, October 25th of last year. I came out, and I wasn't really, hindsight's 2020, right? So obviously, like what I've been able to put together from like the work I've done this time is like I wasn't willing, right? Like I wasn't willing to take direction, and that's been my big thing this time. What I got willing to do when I wanted the pain to stop, when I wanted to grow, when I wanted to have what I wanted, all I had to do was give up control and take direction.
So how are you able to make that change? Because that's where the majority of people continually get stuck, and I call it they stuck themselves.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Like this time when I came in, I remember like sitting with Sam that day, the day I came in, and I was all upset, like, because I got a big old, dish of humble pie. Like some of my best qualities that I thought were driving me were like what were killing me, and
Mm.
like I was able to like kind of see that, right? And so
Can you
like,
dive into that? Because that's a huge
yeah.
realization.
I've always thought my drive, my self will, um, my want for like goal, task achievement were some of
Mhm.
the things that were like my biggest qualities, and they still are, right? But I like have to let somebody else kind of direct them. And like, I got sober last time and I was miserable.
Mm.
Um, like from here, I went home for Christmas, made a mess of things, came back out, put it all back together real quick. Um, Went to detox for 5 days, and I was like, all right, I'm good.
This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction space. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families reclaim their lives. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please reach out so we can do this together. Our number is 949 749 7317.
Right.
5 days, I'm good.
Yeah. Walked out of detox.
Decades
Went
of
back
issues,
to,
but I'm good.
Walked back to detox, or well, out of detox. Went back to my IOP. Begrudgingly sat through that because I needed them. Needed a place to stay, roof over my head type thing. Needed to get back on my feet type thing, and like, but I still wanted to run the show. And like, I guess before I'd never made the distinction, right, of what it looks like to like really turn my will over. And so like I got the result of what, you know, um, and like by that I mean like by I was still miserable, right? Good. All right, cool. Um, like, I've always been good at doing the tasks, like I was saying, right? So it's been probably a little bit confusing for me trying to figure everything out on my own.
Well, let's look at that, because my understanding is you've been a high capacity person the majority of your life, and
Mhm.
so that drive has served you very well in some
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
There's also another side to that drive, and when mismanaged the direction, it tends to go off course very effectively and efficiently.
Yeah.
So as you started to recognize this, how were you able to kind of make this resolution or reconciliation of it's not a bad thing, but it's what's continuing to create this pain in my life.
Yeah. So like I think I was about 3 weeks sober when I was here. And I just remember being like, I still have that same discontent feeling, right? Like I hadn't connected with God the way I wanted to. Like, come to find, like I never had the relationship I wanted with God because like I never sought it properly, right?
What do you mean by that? Sought it properly?
Like as a friend, a companion, like I wanted to, like I had an issue with playing God
Yeah. Okay.
rather than um like I wanted God to give me what I wanted. I didn't want to do God's work.
God, here's
I
what you're gonna
didn't.
do for me.
Yeah,
I
like
get
I
it.
mean, I noticed like even in the way like I ask for things now. Like now I ask just to be happy, not for what will make me happy. I don't tell him what to do to make me happy. Like now it's like, you know what I mean? Like I don't really have bad days. I was saying this to Preston the other day because like I've kind of dropped the expectations on life and everything, right? Like I'll get to my goals eventually. Like I just stopped putting time limits on them and I stopped putting parameters on what I ask for things when I ask to God and everything like that. And it changed my relationship, right? Like I'm able to just talk to him now, and it was something I never did before. Like I said, I would always did like a dear God journal or something like that. It's because like I was task oriented rather than just like being humble and talk to him all the time
Yeah.
and seeking his counsel throughout the day. It was something that I wanted to do because I knew I needed him rather than like something that like I built a relationship with. It's kind of like, you know, you have people that are like friends and then you have people that like are acquaintances. Like I was making him an acquaintance rather
Mm.
than a friend. And, you know, somebody that like I sought guidance from. And I just remember like, 'cause, you know, Jeremy's my sponsor. And
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
yeah,
Solid, dude.
yeah. I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. But he's able to get through to my thick head. And I just remember I was like 3 weeks sober and I still had that same feeling, like because I was still driven in self-will. I wanted to figure everything out. And like I literally when I first got here, I had to take time at the end of the day to like kind of just like sit and be like I remember that from you. I remember you said it to me the first time I was here in one of your groups. You're like, Donny, you're a human doing, not a human being.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh well, that's fine. I like it like that. Like, no, apparently I didn't. I was uncomfortable, tense all the time. Like even my relationship now with Jeremy, is so different because like he doesn't mind being around me. Like I was hard to be around, right? Like that's not something we want to hear about ourselves or anything like that. But
Well, let's dive into that because first of all, in order to create space to sit with the mess, the thoughts, the chaos, because that's what most people sedate, especially early in recovery. So you start learning how to sit with your thoughts, and then you start learning how to engage and really come into a community. What was that transition like from Donnie running the show, or I call it the checklist God, which we
mhm,
turn it into a transactional relationship, and
yeah,
I've never met anyone that works out for.
no,
And then this transformational process where now of actually sitting and communing with other people and actually taking time in solitude.
yeah. So like I've learned now I love my solitude.
Mm.
You know, it's something like I've grown to like. So now it's like what I would do is what I would sit in that hour and a half, 2 hours uncomfortable time. And I would just like I would get these questions like, okay, why am I not comfortable with this? What are
Mm.
like my fears? Why am I so uncomfortable like not doing something? Why do I feel like I need to be moving all the time? Blah 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 blah. And for me, like a lot of it came back to like I wasn't trusting in God to take care of everything for me. Like I wasn't trusting that He was going to provide for me, that He was going to make sure that I'm okay. And like so, like I had a couple. I would start sharing these vulnerabilities with like the men that I have around me, right?
Mhm.
Like, why do I feel like this? And they're like, it's just your head, you know what I mean? It's normal. And like basically, like my answer to everything was, I just used the Golden Key by Emmett Fox. And that was kind of how I built my relationship. Like, so instead of sitting there thinking about self, I ended up thinking about what God looks like in the sky or up here somewhere. Pretty
You
like
started doing the airy fairy
anything,
stuff.
yeah. And then I started to like kind of trust in the relationship and
Mm.
like realize like this isn't the end of me. And I started to just like I essentially walk through fears, right? Like that's what we was
Yeah,
doing. Like,
that's what I heard is I was living in fear of what may not happen.
mhm.
And then what were some of the ways that you found this spirituality was revealed to you where you were okay?
um it was instances, right? Like I guess God worked for me, like big picture type thing. He's like, all right, here, pay attention. Like I'll throw you a bone, or because like I would ask, like, show me, like, help me build my faith. You know what I mean? And I just remember like one day, and this is when I finally gave in. I was sitting there, I was like, all right, and this is I'm by myself, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna let Jeremy make all the decisions. And that was like a couple days later, everything got real light, and then he was like, he told me he could hear the change in my voice. So like I took that as a message from God, right? We do these check-ins every morning where it's an audio recording. And I started to notice the change in pace in the cadence, the way I would do it. And then like the amount of time and the length that they got to be and what I was talking about and the depth to it. And it just kind of slowly evolved. So it was
So how did it feel to hear somebody outside of you recognizing this growth and letting you know?
it was kind of like, oh, finally.
You're like, thank you, God. Like, hurry this up.
Well,
Right?
that's what it felt like, right? I was like, thank you, because I was like, because I'm asking for signs, or like I believe that God works through us all through as like other people as messengers, right?
Mhm.
And to convey His message, and that's the way it would show up, and like people would start coming up to me, and it was all in the subtle stuff, right? Like all in the underlying. Oh man, it's awesome to see that this is happening for you. And like I hadn't noticed it. And like there was my silver lining in something. Like I'm going through something uncomfortable. And it just started to like, slowly build as to where then it was like, you start realizing you're able to walk through the day almost like, like Moses, like walk on water type feeling where no matter what happens, no matter, barring any major stuff, but like you're able to kind of just, you realize that like life is 10% what happens and 90% the way you react to it, right?
Well,
And
that's the
then
beauty of this journey is because you said, less the big things, but it's like once we start building trust with ourselves and our creator in the small stakes, it's like when the stakes get really big and life can slap the hell out of us.
mhm,
By making these smaller choices and staying consistent, it allows us to build the foundation for those bigger things.
yeah. And that's like where I would stray off in the past, is like I'd be so consistent, so consistent, so consistent, but I wouldn't be willing to like take any direction. I was
Yeah.
still like, I haven't changed a lot, but I've changed a lot, right? So it's like I still have my core routines that I loved and everything like that. And I had to like, Jeremy had me take everything and look at it like, okay, where have you gone wrong? Or where has your perspective or everything you think right? He
Mm.
goes, maybe just walk through the day for the next week and realize maybe that like you perceived it all wrong, right? Like maybe the story, like we talk about in
Mhm.
your group, maybe the stories you have written about everything aren't right. And he's like, just be open minded, maybe. And then like I started to do it and I was like, oh, wow. And then, you realize that you've been running your life off of like 15% of the facts.
Mm.
And then you're like, well, these stories don't help anymore, right? So then they go out the window and then it's like, well, stories don't help at all,
Mm.
right? Or like, you know what I mean? There's some things we do, like you talked about, a justification, villainization, like all that stuff. So it's like we're able to kind of just be like, well, if I'm operating off stories, then I'm not present. If I'm not present, then I can't appreciate what's going on. And then that's where I got to the point where it's like I drop the expectations. I'm able to be present, and you're able to kind of just go through the day and just enjoy everything, right? Like I mean, I had it like my home group, like that people it pegged in my head. People didn't want me around, and they're judging me and this and that, like all those like silly fears, because it all breaks down to a couple fears. Like I was able to go through my steps this time and have a totally different experience, right? And it's like I've done them a couple times, but I've never done them correctly, apparently, or all this stuff. And it's like when and Sam helped me with this one. It was like one of the things was like, just maybe the best answer for you is I don't know, right? And
Mm.
like that simple thing of walking through with that like humility of that as like I don't know is the best answer, because like I suffer from figure it outism, right? Like I got to figure everything out and this and that and that, and it's like you don't need to know. It's like embracing the mystery is kind of the beautiful thing about life, and I'm able to like redo everything and kind of fall in love with the process of it. And that was a big one for me, like because like I love my goals and everything, but I'm more like, even with the gym, I'm more of the person that like enjoys the everyday grind of it rather than getting to the goal, because all I'm going to do is set another goal.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets exhausting
Yeah.
constantly chasing things that what do they call it? The horizon principle. Where you're
Hmm.
just continually chasing. When you get there, it's already gone.
Yeah.
So you mentioned stories. What are some of the stories that were most difficult for you to either work through or to completely change?
Um, I guess like a lot of the stuff about goals, right? Like I need this to be happy. I want
Mm,
this, like all those things. Like I don't want to be in sober living. I don't like being around everybody. Like frankly, like I enjoy it now. It doesn't bother me at all, and it's like what's best for me, right? Like the fact that I got to the point where I'm like gave my life over to another man and I'm like, here, can you make all the decisions? Like I think this is best for now. Like
mm,
clearly states like, okay, yeah, like you know what I mean? So it's I think it's important, right? So with that, like I'm able to kind of take a look at everything and reevaluate. And I'm able to decide like what's important, what's not important, and basically like just being happy on a daily basis is what's important. Like I'm
mm.
back in school now. So now I'm like getting to the point where I'm done with everything, or I'm coming to like the end time, and now it's like, oh, all right, now like now it's like, oh, jump back to old behavior type feeling in a way, right? Because it's like, all right, it's time to get a job, it's time to but I don't want to change what's been working for me. So it's like, oh, what do we do now? So now I'm kind of like at this predicament of like, I'm back in school full time for my master's for the clinical mental health program. And now I got to start to insert some work. But like, my first idea is go back into admissions, build business development and everything like that. And I'm like, I don't know if that's I don't know, right? So it's like, I'm trying to figure all that stuff out right now. But at the end of the day, like, because I'm real good at picking a goal, locking on, and driving at it. Like, I've been like that my whole life, but it's not always what's healthiest for me. So it's like now I'm trying to figure that out. But the difference is like I'm kind of willing to like listen to the people around me these days. I pray about it, try to see what shows up the next day. And like, I don't force the decision, right? Like, I just kind of take my time and see what happens. And it's like it's kind of tough though because like what do you do, right? Like how do you know when you're just being floundering or lazy, or how do you know like okay, this is going to be all right, or it gets to be like a tough decision. I was going to ask you about that, like you do your men's coaching and everything like that. It's like, man, where do you draw the safe line, right? Like, because that's really what it's about, right? Never having to do this again. Like, I'm always going to be making forward progress, and
Hmm.
that's fine, but it doesn't need to be at the pace that I think's acceptable because that is my addict thinking a lot, and I want it yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, man, what is the right pace? What is the right question? What is the right job? So it's like you come across these things. So it's like some days, like, I don't know, man, I can spin myself in circles on that one because, like, I'm a workaholic at heart, and
Yeah, it sounds like you have an outside counsel that you've built,
Mhm.
and you are continually bouncing ideas for feedback to see am I in the right direction or they're wrong. And when you get a lot of outside people saying, there's a cliff right there, you're listening now, or
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
continue to go. So, one of the aspects I recall last year is you had a lot of intensity,
yeah. It was a big ball of stress too.
and you appear completely different this year.
Yeah, I mean, just the feeling alone, feel like I don't know how I used to operate that. Like Jeremy used to say it. He's like, dude, you're like a big ball of stress and anxiety coming at me. Like now he's like, and we spend a lot of time together now. Now we kind of hang out in a capacity that's not just like sponsor sponsee type thing
Hmm.
sometimes. And like, he probably didn't want to be around me before because like it's now I see people coming at me like that, and I'm like,
Yeah, well, whoever's committed more to their current state typically will give off that state.
hmm
And so if you're coming in full bore with that intensity, and it's not a negative thing, but it can be,
be a little
it can get
toxic.
people in difficulty. So you mentioned it was toxic. How was it getting you in trouble, or how did it show up in a toxic way for you before?
Um, I would say I didn't have my priorities straight, right? So like I guess I didn't put my recovery first, right? I didn't seek the counsel and everything like that. And then like it was the big one for me is like the instead of playing God rather than like in my life or self will, um, just doing the I want this, I want that type thing.
Well,
That's
this may be a great transition of if an individual is playing God And we see a few of that in addiction.
Yeah, right.
How does God relinquish control to so I'll say the small g God?
Hmm.
How does one relinquish control with awareness to the big God, that with the big G, to say, I don't want to be my God anymore?
Hmm. I had to get on. I had to accept that maybe I didn't know best, right? And I had to accept that like it was gonna be okay, whatever the outcome was. I stopped trying to like always. I had a bad habit of trying to like, okay, this will happen, then this will happen, and this will happen, and that's how I'll get it here, and that's like trying to control the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really do that anymore. I just kind of like that's the goal, we'll get there, and I don't try to like connect all the dots because it's like it makes you so you can't enjoy the journey of it, right? And like
Yeah.
it makes it kind of miserable to like it's like just intense all the time trying to figure it out. I'm not present. I'm not like, I mean, I don't know how Aaron must have felt. That must have been annoying to be around all the time, right?
You
Like
got to ask her. Well, that's part of the beautiful thing about when we're in relationships and we're becoming more aware of how we impact our significant other, and then doing some growth to actually get into a place where I am open to feedback. How has this affected you in the past? And even though, and I don't know if it's a guy thing, but as soon as it's brought up, the initial thing is, I want to defend it. But of
Mhm.
letting that just kind of sit down and say, damn, that sounds like that could have been really tough.
Yeah, we were doing a session with Sam the other day, and it was like we were talking about something. Nothing's a big deal, but yeah, that's exactly how it feels, right? And like you're sitting there fighting that feeling to defend yourself because you know, like that's not what this is about. The goal is like unity, love, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and everything
It's
like
not
that.
about the nail.
Yeah. And we're talking about something that's not even like a big deal, you know what I mean? It was just an example, but yeah, it feels like that. But you kind of gotta. I've learned to look like past, like that is one time. That is a time where you do look. The goal is, you know, to be able to communicate better and everything like that, not have one person shut down the other. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just,
Well, that's what I'm hearing overall. The theme now is moving from me being the small g God
mhm,
and moving to trust and faith and the big G God, of stating, I still have goals. Instead of me making that forceful plan to what I think is going to be that straight line, which
mhm.
never is,
No.
of saying, okay, God, here's where I'm wanting to go. Here's the plan that I have, and I'm open to any suggestions. And through that daily divine download, that I call it my time with my creator, you get those little taps of kind of like, let's not focus on this. What if we did this instead? And you're like, I would have never thought about that. So being open to the process and the
Yeah.
journey.
That was like one of the things. So I get up in the morning, I do my readings, and as long as I'm in the mindset of, we'll call it like looking for the clues that God is
Mm.
dropping for me to try to go, okay, take this direction, this path. Like as long as I'm in that mindset, I'm able to like kind of see things because like the universe has a great way of like showing up and giving you exactly what you need or like what we resist persists
Yeah.
like and it
It'll
just
show you where
keeps
you're not free yet.
yeah, exactly. And like I've gotten to be able to like take a look at some of that and like usually like it's always teaching us something, right? There's
Mhm.
always a lesson to be learned. And even with like people that we don't appreciate or something like that, like there's a reason we don't appreciate them because there's something in us
Mm.
that we clearly need to work on, right? That like, you know, we're able to kind of look a lesson on. And once I kind of started like transforming the way I was like would look at everything, right? Because
Mhm.
I had a perspective problem. Like everything was about self and me, and like once I kind of started to shift this way into the process of being like, okay, how do I show up to, let's use my meetings for example. How do I show up and not be like I need to get something from
Mhm.
here? Because if you show up to AA, all they have is alcoholism to give you, right? But if you show up and try to bring something to the meeting, like there's a lot more that you get out of it. And it was just like a whole mindset change. And it was probably like a two week period where it was just like very like felt like I was having these like epiphanies, like
Mhm.
and then epiphany followed by man, I gotta sit down because like how did I miss this for so long type feeling, but
Yeah. So it sounds like life before was unmanageable, was all over. You were still a high capacity individual, but I'm hearing there's this underlying tone of a lot of fear, a lot of pain.
hmm
And then fast forward, well, I guess not fast forward, slow forward, who we
hmm
have to it's been about a year or so. What's life like now for you? This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction space. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families reclaim their lives. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please reach out so we can do this together. Our number is 949 749 7317.
Um, it's calm, right? Like I have everything I need. Um, and I've like reevaluated what that looks like, right? Like I realized like I don't even need a lot. Like I'm always gonna be a driven person and everything like that, but like you said, it doesn't have to be the straight line. From A to C, B was how much is I'm gonna mess it up in the middle by trying to like put my hands on it, and it's like a kid trying to strangle a puppy to death. Like it doesn't work. Like you just gotta back off and like enjoy the thing. So like I was able to just like kind of learn to appreciate life. I had to slow down, right? Like I was getting so fixated on the goals, and it was like I had to realize like who I was as a person, right? I'm worried about the goals so much, but I'm really a person that enjoys the actual process and the work of getting to it, right? But I'm so fixated on the goal that I'm not enjoying that. So I was perpetuating this miserable cycle for myself, no matter what I was doing in everything that I was doing. So once I backed off and um like I said, Jeremy's like one of my biggest role models, and like a lot of the guys that I have around me are. I try to keep people around me where I'm like not the smartest person in the circle. You know what I mean? So I'm able like constantly learning, constantly growing, and I was able to take a look at like all these guys that are all super successful now, and we're in the same position as me, and they're like, it was a really hard one to swallow that like I couldn't hyper focus on work, that I couldn't have that to, I guess, like as part of my identity, right? Like that's what I was doing. Like I was providing my value for myself in a career which essentially like was just like some sales career, marketing career, or something like that, which really doesn't define a person, right? Now I spend a lot more time, in my meetings, like helping others. I have sponsees now, and like I'm able to like, I don't know, I just kind of get it for the first time, right? Like so, and I have a new appreciation for life, and probably some of it's my age too, starting to get up there and everything. But you kind of get a little nostalgic and everything, but it's like you realize like I just had my priorities out of whack, and like I was able to go home. It was about a month ago now, and I was able to like spend some time with my kids.
How was that?
They're 12, and like when I was home, man, I mean, it was great all around, right? But like it was Friday, the day my son's still at school, my daughter does homeschool now. So I was able to like, we're just sitting there talking, and I'm like thinking in my head, and I'm like, wow, like when's the last time I just did this with her? Because I'm always like, oh, I'll take you to do this. I was always worried about like doing all these fun things with them, which is great too. I mean, it's important, but like in the mental space that I was doing it, it wasn't what needed to happen, right? Like they just wanted to spend time with me and like forget about that. Like me and my daughter sat there and talked about all this type of stuff, and like just talked for hours, and it was just like really make you realize like, man, I had the priorities all wrong. Like I was worried about taking them to do fun stuff and this and that. That's sure, it's great and memorable, but it's not what's truly usually important to a person.
Yeah, I've found that kids don't want the presents; they
No,
just
they
want
want
your presence.
yeah, like they're just as happy with the box that it comes in to play with half the time, and you're like, what the heck?
But of just sitting there and just being with them and seeing them and feeling them and experiencing that moment.
Yeah. I mean, that was another thing that I had to come to realize, right? Like I had a bad habit of texting my kids and everything. And then I'm like, my daughter's not a big texter. She wants to talk on the phone. And I'm like, one day I'm like, oh, well, I was justifying it. Like the stupid stories that we create in our head. Like I was justifying, oh, well, she's probably mad at me. I would be mad at me too. And it creates that whole cycle of like you're either manifesting your fears or manifesting your solution. And like I was literally creating the same cycle of the fear and like keeping her at bay. And as soon as I was like, why am I texting her? I need to pick up the phone. Like just because I'm uncomfortable because I've messed up and I haven't been present, like it changed the relationship within like a week. And it was just like, wow, you just realize that you've been your biggest hurdle all these years. And
Yeah, you're the only one that creates the suffering in your life.
yeah.
It's wild.
And it was like, I had to realize, like, even with that, like, the only thing I can change is me, right? And like, the great news about that is like, you can always work on the problem then. So it's like, I had to take the time and realize, like, when something's that was definitely a big part of the reprogramming, right? Like, I had to realize, like, okay, I don't like this is making me mad with them. What's going on with me? And it was literally like a 2-week process of like constantly like drilling myself. But it allowed me to like make a lot of growth. And I like the ultra accountability and everything. Of just making it in a good way all about me. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only thing I can control is my thoughts, my feelings. It's the only thing that I can not like. If I don't want to drag my character defects onto anybody else. So I got to get that stuff under control, and I'm able to look at it. I was able to make a lot of amends while I was home with my mom, my brother, and my grandmother. Like, when I was rewriting my steps this time, I really got to look at like what I did to my brother, especially. Like, I was showing up to work and like in bad shape, right?
Yeah.
And then like in my head, I was mad at him because like, oh, how you let me go, like, but like then I'm writing it out, and it's like, wow, I was asking this kid to allow me to come into work messed up, be a danger. We're running heavy equipment. He's got a beautiful, huge landscape company that he's built from nothing. And like, I'm putting his livelihood at jeopardy essentially, right? Like, I can get somebody sued, or you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, and then I get mad when he's like, I can't have you at work anymore, dude. You're just a mess. Like, go get help. And I'm mad at him because it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna lose everything now because I'm like, no, you lost everything because
Yeah.
the situation you put yourself in, which then dragged him into that just for trying to help you.
So how was that experience getting to making amends with him?
Just even the writing part of it was great, like that I was actually able to see like how toxic my behavior was. And um but it was great, like I got to see like that Sunday we probably had like 20 of my family members over. I got to cook for everybody. We had dinner, got to talk and everything. And then like it was kind of crazy with all the kids, but I ended up having to call them from the actual airport to make the amends and do that. But that's just one of those things that he just wants the best, right? Like, he doesn't have anything bad. He doesn't, he's not a big communicator like that or anything. But at the end of the day, he just wanted the best for me. He wanted, wanted me to be safe. And it's like one of those things, like, it'll take time to kind of rebuild the actual relationship and everything like that. But it felt good to, kind of see that, like, a lot of that stuff was a false belief in my head, right? Like, nobody's out to get me. Nobody was out to get me but me. And that was one of the things I had to realize. All these false pretenses I walked around in and everything like that, I caused a lot of harm to a lot of people just from being as selfish as I was, like walking through life with that tunnel vision on and the blinders of just like what I need, what I want. You can do a lot of damage just from even in like a negligent standpoint, like I did with my kids, right? Like, I was never one to go around them when I was like that. So like, therefore, like, it caused me to be an absent parent. um they lost their mother to addiction. They're with her sister and their grandmother, and they're like, they couldn't want for a thing, which is wonderful. But it's like, I'm lucky, like I'm very fortunate, like I'm able to walk back home into their lives and like just able to go over there, stay with them, do whatever. Like, there's no, for all the harm that I've caused, there's no grudge on from their mom or their grandmother or anything like that. So like, I'm very fortunate that all the people that I have in my life, like some people don't have it like that, right? Like, I probably used all my 9 lives as a cat and everything, and some people don't even get one, right? So it's, I'm very, very lucky. And like, even that alone, when I had to start thinking about like, okay, like, do I really believe in God? Because that's what Jeremy and Clifton had told me. He's like, Donnie, do you actually even believe? Because you don't practice any type of faith, right? You're not willing to give him over the control to take care of everything for yourself. they're like, you don't trust in him, so how can you say you have faith? And like, it was something I really had to look at, and I was like that one hit me deep. So
That's a big question.
yeah.
So one of the things I like to ask is, with everything that you've learned
Mm-hmm.
through this process, thinking back to that darkest time, what would you go back and tell that version?
um, hmm. I don't know. I would say like I just remember like the week before, me and Aaron came in. I just remember like I'd been all over the place, down in Mexico, all over the place, and I was just like, I'm thinking to myself like you're gonna end up in prison. Like that was really where I thought everything was gonna end up if I didn't like go get help and stop trying to figure everything out on my own. Like, I had people that were still checking in on me and everything. And then, like, I remember, looking over at her and I was like worried about her and everything. And I'm just like, this is not going to end good, right? Like, and it's probably going to end worse than I can even imagine. And like, that doesn't have to happen. My kids don't need to get a phone call like they did about their mother, about me or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, I guess at that point decided to stop being like so selfish. Decided to crawl back, and like I just had so many things happen too. Like with like that was like one of the other things. Like how could I not have like um faith in God, right? Like out of nowhere, I took my phone out of my pocket, locked. I had lost my wallet, right? Locked, can't get in. It went into like some accessibility mode. So like my phone's cut off, my wallet's gone, and it was just like God being like, no, you're done. Like, go. And like I'm creative. I figured it out for like another day or two, whatever. But it was just like I think I finally went and got the phone unlocked. And I opened my email, and this is wild, right? And this is why I believe in faith, right? So I open the email and it's scrolling, right? And it just stops, and it's a random email from Laura, just checking in, see how you're doing. But like of all things, of the first one to stop there, it was just like, and I was like, all right, that's a God shot. Like, so I answered her, and that was that, and we came in the next day. But it was just you have to kind of like I guess I've had a little bit of faith all along to kind of, even in the state I was in, to kind of see that. And I just, I'm not happy anymore when I'm using or anything like that. The time where it did anything for me or had any type of benefit is gone.
Yeah.
It's a false belief, a false story that still existed, and I kind of had to get rid of that one. And that's just I don't know. I don't have any desire to go back to it anymore. I don't really even have cravings about anything. It's kind of just like when I live in the solution and everything, it's not even a thought, right? When I'm going through my day and I go to my meetings and I'm trying to help others and be a decent person and calling and walking through the day with the mentality of, okay, let's call and check on this person. Let's call and check in with the kids. Let's call and check in with mom. Like one of my living amends to my mom is to just make sure I call the poor woman every day. I mean, this is a poor woman that I tortured for years, right? Where she had her tell me one time, I only sleep well when you're in jail or in treatment, right? And like, what kind of thing is that to do to somebody? So if the least I could do is make a phone call to let her know I love her every day, it's like, the little things.
We hear that often.
Yeah.
So if someone is watching this that might be where you once were, maybe they're in the pit of the pain, what would you want to share with them?
That this was probably when I was ready, this was the easiest thing I've ever done. When I was ready to just be like, here guys, help me. It was easy, right? There wasn't a thing about Pacific Shores that I didn't like when I was ready. You know what I mean? Like none of it mattered, right? It didn't matter what was going on with this or that. It was just everything. When I was ready, everything was perfect. When I turned my full will over, it was easy. And I enjoyed it, right? Like I enjoy myself here. It's not anything about that. Like it's a great place. I'm able to, take care of what I need to with my treatment and recovery, and then I go do my AA thing outside of that. We're given enough rope to hang yourself, and I'm able to appreciate that because like I enjoy like the way that it's set up here. It's not super controlling, you know what I mean? You're trusted, and like it helps you to build that trust back in yourself. um but it's like there's a lot of good people here, and that's like one of the things. Like I have a big I guess big soft spot for this place, and I even realized that last time. I just probably wasn't willing to like fully give to the process and cave to like what's important. And that was me kind of like letting go and letting God. And um I mean, it's been a great journey and everything like that. I mean, I'll step down, go to sober living next, and I'll be able to kind of continue with everything. And um I just stopped rushing. Like I had a bad habit of rushing through everything, and it's like, the one thing we can't get back is time, right? The one thing we want more of is time. And what was the one thing I was wasting? Time. And that one kind of hit me this time, where I was like, I was working so much last time. Like I made a mess of things sober too, right? Like because I had my priorities out of whack. I was working so much and so miserable. Like it was like, what was the point? There was no point. So it's like I really got to look at that and be like, okay, maybe I don't know best. And like, as Jeremy told me, it was like there's a time and place where you're gonna be able to take back over full time. It's just not right now. He's like, we got to fix a couple things, and you'll be able to get back on your way, but just right now, just for right now. And I don't know why I held on to that. It was probably like the control freak in me, being like, okay, just for a little bit. But now I don't even look at it like that, right? And like it was just a little thing I had to get over. And like once I was able to kind of just, I need to be able to like take direction, right? You would think like I played ice hockey for 15 years. You would think like I'd be a super coachable person, but I had become uncoachable. And I just remember like one of my last college coaches saying that. He's like, you got to remain coachable. He's like, that's one of the biggest things, because like I've always been a leader, and like by nature it's just kind of something that like I do without thinking of. And it's like I had to sit down on the bench for a minute and like realize like somebody else is in charge. um and just kind of like just to listen, and it was a lot easier and it was a lot more enjoyable. And you know
Well, it's been awesome watching your transformation over this last year, and totally unrecognizable in the most positive way. So thank you for coming on and
yeah,
sharing
thank
what
you.
you've learned and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it.